jam-packed informational session for you guys today. Come on in, make yourselves cozy, grab a little seat. There's plenty that are open. Grab some food. Anyways, let's get started. First up, I just want to congratulate all of our 2024 production winners from this last year. On Thursday, we had an amazing award ceremony that was very powerful over in Carson. It was an invite only, so if you know, you know. But if you guys went, we had an amazing time. If you didn't go take a look at the photos, if anyone wants to or hasn't seen them yet, Summer did email and post a link for the photos on Facebook. You guys should see them all. They're glorious and beautiful from both of the photographers. You guys can scan that QR code right there and go to the link, or again, go to our Facebook page. Any comments?
It's always fun time to celebrate success. What's interesting, and I said a few things at the very beginning, but only later I realized that between all of our sister companies, we have about 1,000 agents. And how many recipients we had? 200.
Yeah.
Anybody heard about the 80-20 rule? It works each time. Now, we do bit the statistics because we have 70% of all of our companies are producing agents. But you need to hit a certain amount of gross income annually to be awarded the plaque and above, right? Which is between $60,000 all the way up to close to $2 million, our highest earner. But it's great. I mean, again, 80-20, it works. Keep to the basics. Learn from other great people, like-minded, and stay consistent. This is going to be a great year ahead. So thank you.
That is. Round of applause. Thank you, guys. Congratulations to all of our award winners. Thank you, many. So there's some new faces and not so new faces here in the room. So we'd love to welcome our new agents from this last week that got licensed. Sky, I want you to stand up and introduce yourself first. We'd like to welcome Sky. Sky, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Figure skating coach for 22 years. And I'm a mom of 2 boys who are 5 and 9 years old, and they're crazy, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so excited to have you, Sky. Welcome. And you might have seen Omer. Why don't you stand up and introduce yourself? He's finally licensed in the state of California.
So I was with the KW Turkey for 2 years. Before that, 2 years with Remax. I love real estate. This is why I decided to come here with my wife and my cat. To be in the major leagues of real estate, and yeah, I'm excited to be working with you. If you have any open house opportunities, let me know.
That's great. Welcome. Thank you. Congrats. And officially, we want to welcome Miss Stephanie back there. Stephanie, you want to introduce yourself a little bit? Yeah.
I am also involved with Women's Council of Realtors. I am the president of the South Bay Network, also the president of the Deep City Realtors organization out of Orange County, and I'm just thrilled to be here.
Oh, we're so excited to have you.
Yeah.
Steph's right there in the bullpen, right by everyone's favorite food location. So go and welcome her. Give her a big warm welcome to the office. We're so excited to have you and your leadership experience. So welcome. Good faces we're adding. So last week we had Stelly on the schedule, but this week we're putting him right at the beginning. So Stell, come on up here. What do you have for us? I love your...
Hey man, you got to feed the algorithm, right?
Just press over on that one and
right.
go to your different slides.
So I have 2 minutes, I think, today. Something came up last minute last week that I wanted to add because it was super important for all of you. And that is this bill. Who's heard of it? AB 246. Okay. So what it immediately does is it suspends Costa-Hawkins. For those that don't remember from your real estate classes, maybe Omer can tell us, Costa-Hawkins protects single-family homes from rent control. Okay. This is going to pause it for LA and Ventura counties. What that means is all properties now will be subject to AB 1482, which was the rent control bill passed some years ago. In my opinion, relatively reasonable at the state level. However, it does allow for more restrictive local rent control to supersede it. Okay, so you have somebody that owns a single family home in the city of LA, they will immediately be part of 3% increases, tenant rights, all those sorts of things. The other problem it does for everyone, including now single family, is it rolls back rents to whatever they were January 7th when the fire started. Across the board. Any rental increase after that gets rolled back. Whatever it is. Okay? Multifamily, single family, everybody. The biggest problem is the last one, institutes vacancy control. Rent for recently vacant units would have to match what the last tenant paid. So if you have somebody renting out a single family, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in Beverly Hills for $500 a month, they cannot go to $30,000 a month when that tenant vacates. They are stuck at $500. That's for the next year. If you remember one of the first minutes I did back in like October of last year, talked about the island of Manhattan in New York that has had this vacancy control for a number of years and currently has something like 50,000 vacant units because it's cheaper for the landlords to keep them vacant than to put a tenant in. So this is the problem. This is on the floor in the assembly. It's on its third reading, which means it's coming to a vote relatively soon. After that, obviously, it's a couple hops on the dice before it becomes law. But they have taken steps and amended the bill to make it just a flat bill. It started off with emergency declaration because of the fires. They've struck all that out. So this is just a regular old bill. If you remember back in November, they tried to repeal Costa-Hawkins. It narrowly lost. And as predicted in the crystal ball that Gus and I have in our office, it was going to go and it was going to pass because that's what they did with rent control. So I tell you this, it's a reason to talk to your sphere. Any investment property that they have is going to be subject to all the multifamily headaches. And if you can help them sell it, then we can talk to them about exchange. So I wanted to talk about briefly what we do that's a little bit different with exchange with all of our clients. If you're not familiar with an exchange, there's a whole bunch of text up there. You can Google it and chat GPT it and give you, whatever you need. It is exclusive for investment properties. You don't get rid of the taxes. They're just rolled over. If the seller touches the money, it's taxed. Period. End of story. Has to go to a qualified intermediary, accommodator, things like that. We work with a lot of accommodating accommodators that will give you a lot of time to find something. Nobody wants to wait that long when they have income properties, but it's our most common objection. On that, it's not the 180 days that's really the issue. It's the first 45 days to identify properties. And then there's some ins and outs of what you can do with it. You can do a construction exchange. It's really complicated. You have to finish it in the same timelines, which means you got to have your permits and plans and everything in place. So it's super rare, but it is possible depending on the deal structure and everything else. Reverse exchange is my favorite, but you got to have a lot of money to do it. Buy the up leg, then sell the down leg. And then the traditional exchange of sell my property, buy something else. That's what we see the most of.
So it's how permits 45 days for the 3 properties, I think.
That depends on paperwork. Some people find a way of skirting it in legal ways. The accommodators, there's ways of kind of skirting around it. But if you traditional accommodator, 45 done. We try to do it. I mean, I think my record is like 3 days. We closed on a Thursday on the down leg and then on Tuesday on the up leg. Because most people have investment properties because passive income, they need the money, whatever it is. So they don't want to necessarily wait 180 days. We structure it so that we're writing offers when we get under contract and then, just to get folks moving on how much work they have to review and things like that. But it depends what they're getting into. So pretty easy, straightforward, take the rents and expenses, come up with a valuation. We just did this one for Santa Ana, which now has more restrictive rent control than the city of LA. Came up with a price for the gentleman at $2 million. But what we do next is we take it and we pop it into our own spreadsheets. And I'm looking for this. What's your pre-tax cash flow? Guy's making less than 4% on his income. He'd probably do better sending it to Chase and just sitting on that income. Obviously, there's drawbacks to that, I jest, but so we're looking at that number, and I'm going to take that number and I'm going to find properties that make him more money. If he's at 3.9% currently, any cap rate past that is probably going to make him money. And then we try to give him graphs to show him, look, you could sell your property, buy this single tenant triple net IHOP in Oakdale, Minnesota, and make the same money, if not a little bit more. Okay. If he wanted to and he didn't want to deal with anything, you come all the way out here to the Delaware statutory trust stuff and make more than double his money and have nothing to do. Obvious drawback, you can't pick when you want to sell it and other things like that. But going from 25 grand a year to over 50 and not have anything to do for a lot of landlords these days, especially in California and the way things are tightening up anyway, this is valuable information. Take it back to your clients. We can help them and help you, on a referral, pretty quick and easy money. Any questions for me? If anyone wants to see stuff like, oh yeah. You don't have any say. It's usually locked in and predetermined on the hold periods. The DST we work with, they have between 5, 7, 10-year periods, and they hold, and then they're going to sell. In particular, one we're working with is working on Travel America type centers across the U.S. and they're working now. It's the biggest operator of the Travel America centers or type centers in the U.S., but they are working with a deal with British Petroleum to buy out the whole thing, which would drop the cap rate value skyrockets, and they might sell earlier. But they give about a 6-month lag time on, hey, we're selling. You should get ready. Do you want to stay with us? Do you want to sell? Do you want to exchange back out? You have options at that point, but otherwise, if you want to sell in the meantime, that can't be done.
Comment on self-storage for DST and any words about inland?
Any words on? I have not worked with inland. I don't know. I love self-storage. It's everything about multifamily except no tenants, no toilets, no regulation. So it's every person that I've put in from multifamily to self-storage has absolutely loved it. The challenge becomes finding self-storage properties that are in that wheelhouse. They're either really, really small or giant. So, and then from the DST standpoint, it's going to be the same. It's just the return, whether it's self-storage or 3,000 unit housing on the University of Mississippi. It's just the percentage that you're getting back. Oh, I don't know. Most of the percentages we're seeing are north of 6, a lot of them north of 7, and they're working with like Tesla plants and just really enormous properties. And this one particularly that we work with does a managed approach. They have a managed approach. So if you have a giant portfolio of 50, 70 million, they'll take it over and they run it for you as a DST, but it's just you in it.
Good question. I think Alex had one, and then
Fee structures, are they just a lot more fee heavy, DSTs?
It depends on it just depends on the business. Some more, some less. I don't have it. I don't know the specifics.
The actual process isn't any more less fee heavy.
It's easier. Oh, fee heavy. I don't know. I don't know the specific number to tell you. I can find out for you. Process wise, it's like 72 hours from to selling your down leg, closing on the DST. So
I think these are some really good questions. There's a lot of opportunities in DSTs and things like that out there. Maybe we'll put a class together, work with Stelios, and maybe come up with some content about investments and how to hold stuff. How does that sound? Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Awesome. Thank you, Stelios. Appreciate you. Very happy to have you. What not to do on an investment listing next month when you come on to present. Excited to hear more about that, Stelios. Let's bring up Trident Group, who sponsored our food bag there. Come on up here. Thank you so much. You're good. Come on down. Come on down.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jeff Clark, Trident Inspection Group, right? So grateful to be here today. Okay, jumping into it, right? And investment and knowledge pays the best interest, right? Oh,
Just hold it or clip it on your shirt. You're good.
I always get weird, like as a mic, So next slide. Do I click it?
Sure, you can if you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Go ahead and just click that button right
Because
there.
I get nervous and I start talking quick, right?
Yeah.
There's so many people here today. No, I'm kidding. So we're going to talk about the power of reliable vendor sources, right? Is namely I own a Trident Inspection Group and Associated Exterminators, right? So we do commercial, residential, sewer, mold, pest, and then also termites. So it's a comprehensive store. One call, literally, we could do anything, not anything, but most things. And I want to use a case study because those are just usually a little bit more interesting than just talking about corrosion, leaks, and what have you, right? So what happens when a significant issue is found? So I'm going to use a case study that I did. I was out on a property on December 31st. We're doing an inspection, and some issues came up. It's here in Long Beach. It had, crawl space, roof, the whole bit. And then most importantly, the big thing is how do we pivot towards solution in a timely manner, right? Because people can only hold things so long before the anxiety starts to get them. They're getting hit with a lot of disclosures, a lot of money's being transferred. So how do we kind of temper that anxiety with some fact, pivot towards solutions so that way they could understand exactly what's going on. So the scenario is we have a buyer moving from Texas to Long Beach. They're flying in, they want to see the property. We're doing the inspection, we're doing general lateral termite, and then I think I've done that one. So here's what our findings were. We have loose bolting. So there's bolting on the mud seal that's coming loose. Parent posts are bad. The connections to the beam are bad. And then I'll pivot between these. We have a plumbing leak and we have a roof that's basically shot out, right? So as I'm in the crawl space, I see what's going on. I'm taking photos. I'm shooting it to my foundation guy to kind of get an idea of what's going on, kind of so that way I could relay that information to them. I'm shooting the information to the roofing company so that way we could, by the end of this inspection, or actually by the end of the day, I was able to arm this guy. We had an inspection on the 1st for the foundation. The next day on January 1st, we're able to get the inspection on there and had him a quote for the roof that day, right? So the good thing about this particular client is they were a sophisticated buyer. They were coming from Texas, which they have notorious foundation issues out there. But what do you think the outcome could have been, right? Freaked out and then bailed, right? Let's just, be real about it. The reality of the agent that able to negotiate 20 G's or 20,000 in credits. We were able to remove the boogeyman. And then those are the 2 reviews that I got from these clients, right? Because it all depends on how you deliver the information, right? Are you delivering it from solution-based or are you delivering it from just a different slant, right? We never want to misinform the buyers. We never want to misdirect them, lie to them in any way whatsoever. But you can contextualize the findings of what you see there. On the we go back. We just had a couple of peer and post systems here that didn't have foundations on there. Some had the strapping, like this strapping is not correct. You want a T-strap on there. And there was just some earth to wood and stuff like that. But if you could present this in a manner that they could digest, then they just figure, because this is fairly common in this area, right? You start, LA, Lakewood, Long Beach. Everything that we found here was pretty common and manageable, right? So that's really what we do in a nutshell. I'm not the best presenter. But what we are, is when we're on site, we're a great team member, right? Period. I don't see anybody. It gets ridiculous with my licensing and certification, but just put it this way. I'm the Orange County chapter president for the National Association of Certified Home Inspectors. So I know pretty much everybody. And there's a lot of good inspectors out there, right? I hope you have one. And if you don't have one, I hope you give us an opportunity. But if you have a relationship then I would maybe consider us as a backup, because it's better than trusting your reputation and having your buyer go on Yelp, right? Or Google or something like that, right? You want to know who you're dealing with, because this is your buyers, this is your reputation, and your buyer's home is what's on the line, right? You don't want a guy with a socket popper and a flashlight crawling underneath the house, or doing the inspection. They don't have the proper general liability, professional liability. We're carrying $1 million, $2 million aggregate. I pay a lot of money in insurance, just put it that way.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Thank you
There
very
we
much.
go.
You guys, this is great. You're gonna stick around if you got any questions, right? So they
For
can
sure.
talk to you. Okay,
For sure.
great. Thank you again
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
food. They love it. Appreciate it. You guys go back and talk to Trident.
Well,
They've done
okay.
their due diligence for sure with helping us. There's their QR code and scanner, just in case you guys want to get that scheduled right away, or connect with them on social media. So let's celebrate our closings that we've had for this last week in production. Congratulations. Live Distinctively ×2. Shira ×3. Congrats, Shira. Emilio, Alice, Brandy Dare, Mary Lou, Heidi and Leslie team, AD, Lester, Jasmine, Esty, Drake, or Esty ×2, Drake, Hengame, Lior, Nilafar, Mario, and Jeff Loftus. What does that equal? $21,598,000 in volume. You guys, so powerful and very blessed for all of us to have really, really good weeks this last week. Let's take a look at our new listings. I know Heidi's here. You want to pitch your listing?
Completely updated, so cute. Very personalized by the owner, the seller. It has what we call an ADU in the back above the garage, and it's already being rented out. So it is a great opportunity. The tenant is not going to go right now, so you can inherit $18.95 a month on top of supplementing your payment. And yeah, it's a great little place in San Pedro, in a great neighborhood. It had, like, as soon as you drive out, it has a great view of the entire ocean, and what is that little area? The harbor area. Really close to all the new up and coming stuff that's happening in San Pedro. There's going to be an amphitheater there and lots of shopping and restaurants. So it's a great house. You guys come see it. $1.3 million.
Awesome. Congrats. Congratulations. All right. Allison Van Wig has a listing, 4808 Snowden Avenue in Lakewood. It's listed for 1.295, 5-bed, 3-bath. Lester has a listing out of Ventura, 1248 Carlsbad Place. It's listed at $429,900, and it's a 2-bed, 1-bath. Shannon Jones' team has a listing, 3745 East Ransom Street in Long Beach. It's listed for $850, and it's 2-bed, 1-bath. Emil team, so Ileana and Carlos Emil, have a listing at 8608 Ramona Street, Unit B in Bellflower. It's listed for $629,900, and it's a 3-bed, 2.5-bath. Live Distinctively has a listing, 11360 Seagull Way in Culver City. It's listed for $2.275. It's a 5-bed, 4-bath. Chun has a listing at 9306 Lake Victoria Drive out in Bakersfield. It's listed for $625, and it's a 3-bed, 2-bath. Leslie has a listing. Leslie, you want to pitch your listing?
Hey everybody, Leslie Campos. Yeah, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1298 square feet, sitting on a 7,200 square foot lot. It's nice and open in the back, ready for an ADU, a pool, entertainment space, whatever your heart desires. We just hit the market at 805. I'll be there over the weekend. Send your buyers. Let's get it sold quickly. Thank you.
Awesome. Congrats, Leslie. All right. Shira has a listing on a Reseda. That's not the actual listing. I'm just realizing that photo. Does anyone play those games, those video games? That's what it looks like. 19350 Lanark Street in Reseda. It's listed for $925, and it's a 3-bed, 2-bath. All right, who has any listings to pitch? Buyer needs, opening up to the room. Janet, Daryl. And then we'll go there in the back.
Oh, thanks. Okay. 6239 East 6th Street is back. It's been on the market for a week. And it is cuter than cute. It has a brand new roof. Everything is completely fixed up on this place. 4-bedroom, 2-bath, University Park Estates, great neighborhood. And it's 1.5. And then I'm going to have an upcoming listing in April that's back at 4th and Loma. And it's going to be 750,000, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, top floor. Great, really nice, clean unit.
That's awesome. Congrats, Janet. Love that. Who else had there? Is someone else in the back? Stephanie had her hand raised.
Hi, I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home in Riverside. It's 3525 Nash in the city of Riverside. It does need some work, but we're actively showing. And then I have a buyer's need for about a 7.25, kind of downtown Long Beach, kind of urban, little older woman, but she wants to do some fun things, and she's qualified for about 7.25.
Nice.
2-bedroom, 2-bath.
Stephanie Sansel. Thanks, Steph. Who else?
569.
Great. Joni, right there.
I have a pocket listing now. It was my listing over at 11481 Wembley Road in Rossmore. It is at 1799. It is 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2364 square feet on an 8,000 plus square foot lot, pool spa. It's just going to be in my pocket. So if you have any Rossmore buyers, we can run over there and check it out.
Congratulations. Good job. Anyone else? Good job, Joni. Anyone else? Richard Chung back there.
1119 North Alexandria triplex. We're putting it on the market today. And the good news is it was 3 units, all very below market rent. They're all moving out. We got cash for keys, all agreed upon. Only downside is the 3rd unit's not going to move out for 90 days. So it's a bit of waiting, but still, it can be delivered vacant. 12702 Bluefield and La Mirada, they're still cleaning it up. So sometime in April, probably a little bit over 900,000, 4-bedroom, 2-bath. And then also Figueroa, South LA, right next to BMO Stadium. You can actually see the stadium from the property, and that's going to be a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, about 500 square feet, a little over 300,000. It's a steal.
Congrats.
That's confidential. Confidential.
Anyone else? Anyone else? All right, I'd like to bring up our speaker for today. Joseph, come on up here. Some of you guys may have seen him at the Long Beach Broker Preview a couple weeks back. After I saw his presentation, it really was something that I felt we needed to hear this message. So I invited him here to the office. So thank you so much, you guys. Big round of applause. And that little clicker right there is where you go side to side.
Perfect. All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm an architect. I have an architecture firm in Redondo Beach, and we specialize in high-end custom single-family residential architecture. We do some multifamily, and we do a lot of consulting. We offer a service called pre-design, where during an escrow, we'll actually come out and we'll offer advice and thoughts for people who want to do some sort of addition, who want to do some sort of remodel, or for people who want to scrape completely. And we do that quite a bit for people. So I'm happy to do that. Our firm has 14 people, and we do work as far north as San Francisco and as far south as South San Diego as well. So all over the place, we're doing lots of fun architecture. What I'm here to talk to you guys about today is about the fires. So the fires devastated a good portion of Los Angeles, and it's a complete tragedy. And so I'm here to talk to you about what California is doing, what the local cities and counties are doing, and also what you all can do to your own homes or to your clients' homes in order to protect them from this happening again. So, where do I start? And most people have already done this, but insurance is the first place to start, right? So file your claim immediately. And this goes for any sort of disaster that affects more than just you. You want to file as soon as possible because typically they handle these things in order. And there are some people that got their money right away. Within the first week, they got paid out completely. Again, it all depends on how their insurance was set up, but they got paid out completely. And there are others who still haven't gotten their money, right? And a lot of it also has to do with how their insurance was set up, right? Some people got paid in full because that's what their insurance plan said, and others don't actually get paid out until they do the work. So there's that as well. So assessor's claims. So basically, during the time when people are attempting to rebuild, there's not going to be anything on the lot, and so people don't want to have to pay taxes on the improvement that's there. So within a year, people can file what's called a misfortune and calamity claim. Has to be done within that year, otherwise it becomes a gray area discretionary approval, which is never as easy, right? But within that year, it's very simple. They apply, they can get a lower tax basis. And then the other piece of this is your Prop 13 base value. If you rebuild mostly the same within 110%, you're going to hear that number quite a bit, okay? Within 110% of the size of what was there before, then you get to keep the same tax basis that you had on the previous house. That's huge, right? That's huge because normally when you build a brand new house, you get completely reassessed on the improvement. So being able to keep what you had before is a big deal, and that you can actually take with you if you buy somewhere else in California. So there's that, which is nice too. Okay, I'm sorry, somewhere else in LA County, right? They allow you to do that. Okay, so cleanup. All debris is considered hazardous waste until it's checked and cleaned up by the authorities. Okay, and so that has to be done. Erosion control. There needs to be prevention for landslides. And the rains that occurred after the fires, I wish that the rains occurred before the fires, but the rains that occurred after the fires actually started washing away quite a bit because there wasn't the planting that was there to stabilize the slope. There was no erosion control. So putting in proper erosion control will prevent whatever remains from sliding into the neighbor. And then temporary housing is allowed. So, if people want to live in a mobile home on their vacant lot, they are welcome to do so once the hazardous cleanup has taken place. And they can do that until the final improvement comes to life. There is a time limit on that. By the way, please feel free to raise your hand during the presentation if you have any questions. I'm going through a lot of this stuff pretty quickly, so if any of this, you have a question about, just raise your hand. If I'm going to talk about it, I'll let you know that, but I'm sure there's a lot that I'm also not going over.
I have a
All right,
question.
so who do I call? Yes, please.
For the square
Yes,
footage,
so
We'll send them out for you guys. Yes,
Yeah.
we'll send them out for you
Send
guys.
out a whole PDF. There's some clickable links at the end too, which are some good references. So,
And then we had a couple questions
please.
back there.
can I go?
Make sure that it's
Oh.
like for like when you rebuild it, or is it?
So they're not actually, it doesn't have to be like for like. It has to be within the same, it has to be the same size. And it has to be in the same general area that it was before. So if you have a giant lot, you can't build in the back of your lot. You're not allowed to do that. You have to build kind of in the same area, and that's discretionary, right? And within 110% of the size. And it's different phrasing depending on what the state rule is and what the LA rule is, and I'll show you that in a minute. But yes.
So even if they want to do an ADU in the back, so they can just move in, let's say the finances was not in place, that wouldn't be allowed.
That's not allowed, and I'll talk about that even more in just a second. So, okay, so you want to talk to mortgage professional, your CPA. you want to discuss budget, timeline, and scope with your architect. Those are the three most important things to discuss before starting any project. And then things to consider: incentives to rebuild. There are lots of bonuses for people whose homes burn down that they get to capitalize on when they're rebuilding their home. And taking advantage of those it's a big deal from a time and money standpoint. So, and then do you have a specific overlay? If you do have a specific overlay, you don't necessarily have to go through that process because of what happened to you. And I'll talk more about that. And then, of course, your personal goals. Okay, so here's what the state did. State of California stepped in, and they said that basically you do not have to go through the California Environmental Quality Act. So that's a big deal, okay? CEQA is, it applies to any new build that happens, and it's a big delay. And then you have the California Coastal Commission. Now that's huge, okay? So for people who are within a mile of the beach, they have to go through a California Coastal Commission process. But for instance, for the people in the Palisades, they do not have to go through that process, again, if they stay within 110% of the approved size. Now that's their phrasing, it's size, okay? So, and then of course your basis, you may be able to transfer your basis to the newly rebuilt replacement property. They've authorized FEMA and the EPA to begin the hazardous removal. And there are two phases to the removal. First phase is toxic, second phase is the rest of the cleanup. Toxic must be done by the government, but the actual second phase does not have to be, the non-toxic stuff. So, but there's pros and cons to doing it either way, and I'll tell you more about that. So price gouging laws, right? Price gouging laws are going to be in effect until 2026. I heard some talk about some of that today already. But you basically, if you're perceived as price gouging and you're sued for it, or if you are criminally prosecuted for it, you could potentially go to jail and have giant fines. Late payments for 2025 property taxes are waived until 2026. Again, that's really big. So people who are affected, they don't have to pay property taxes this year, right? They get to wait until next year to do that. So that's a big deal. Bans unsolicited offers to owners of damaged properties for amounts less than market value. Be really careful about this one, because who defines market value? That gets litigated, right? So you just have to be really, really careful about that. So here's what the city of Los Angeles did for the people in the Palisades. Again, you see that 110% rule, okay? You'll see that a few more times, but 110% of the area and the height, okay? So they define it a little bit differently. The area of the building and the height of the building within 110%, not the size as California said. So it's a little bit stricter, but again, the floor plan can be completely different. The windows can be in completely different places. That piece doesn't matter. So it's the same use, it has to be the same use and substantially the same location and density. So to answer your ADU question, you can't do that right now. And the city of Los Angeles usually is very pro ADU, but right now they're not, although I heard that they might make an exception to this. I haven't heard news yet as to whether they're going to do that for sure. But for now, you can't add an ADU in this application. You have to add it in a separate application later. Review for projects up to 110% will take 30 days. So basically the city has said, if you submit, we'll respond to you within 30 days, okay? I don't think I believe that. And this can be seen by the ADU laws that got passed in 2020, right? ADU laws, I don't know if you guys remember, 60 days was what they said. And I have yet to see one that happens in less time than almost what it takes to do a brand new home from a permitting standpoint, right?
Which is how long?
Months. It's months, right? It depends on where you're getting approvals. It depends on circumstances, but it could be as little as 4 months and as much as a year. And it really just depends, right? So they blew past that. And that's why I think they're going to blow past this also, because it has to do with a combination of things. First one is how streamlined are their rules, and they're not streamlined, right? And then how quickly can they process, because they still have to go through all the same steps that they had to before, and they only have whatever staff that they have. And they're adding staff, yes. They're converting engineering departments into building and safety departments, yes. But are they still going to be able to keep up with the thousands of extra applications that they're having now compared to before? Removes haul route hearings. Okay, so in the Palisades, what you had to do before is you had to actually plot out the direction that all the trucks were going to take back and forth, and you had to get that approved. And that approval normally takes 9 months. That's a 9-month approval. Okay, so they're cutting that out, so that's a good thing, right? That's very good. Departments for clearances instructed to respond within 5 days. Again, I'll believe it when I see it. Creation of a disaster recovery permit center. Okay, so that's a good thing, and they have already done that. And again, this is for people within that 110%. But how good is that going to be? I don't know. Lifts the all-electric home ordinance for rebuilds. This is kind of happening, kind of not, right? LA is trying to make it so that you have to, basically all new homes have to be all electric with no gas at all. That may not happen anyway, but basically, if you're within 110%, you definitely don't have to do that. City will still require architects, engineers, and soils testing as normal. Self-certification of drawings might be a possibility. I don't think this is going to happen either, but what it's saying is that architects and engineers can sign off on their own drawings instead of submitting to the city, right? I have yet to see them actually implement this. Projects shall obtain permits within 7 years and construction completed within 3 years of obtaining the building permit. You know, that's basically saying you have to get it done, otherwise you lose your 110% benefits. Okay, so budget. So this is a big deal, and this is always surprising to everyone who calls, but it's very expensive to build right now, right? $700 per square foot to rebuild new in the Palisades. That's average. You can build for $600, but it's not guaranteed. And of course, you can build for more, but more than about $700 per square foot is really within the discretion of whoever the client is, right? So they kind of get to decide based on materials and spans of openings and types of doors and windows and that sort of thing. But it's very expensive right now. Soft costs are also a piece of this. I mean, they're in addition to this, right? So soft costs, all of your different engineers, your architect, it's all in addition to that. And that's probably another 15% on top of that, maybe 20%. And then up here, if it shows up, should we wait until costs stabilize, right? So this graph, if you take a look at this, basically at the very bottom, this green thing is covering the year, but basically that's all right. I can kind of describe it. Basically, it's 2012, right? So that's when construction costs started just continually going up. And there have been a number of big worldwide economic events where people at different stages have asked me, should I wait till costs stabilize? Should I wait till costs stabilize? And it happened every few years when some big thing happened. Over a long period of time is kind of like the stock market over a long period of time. It's going to go up, right? And so trying to time the market for construction costs is a very, very difficult thing to do, and usually an exercise in futility. Okay, so now we have time. Okay, so you have basically, I have 3 timelines that I've laid out here. Would you mind moving that
Yeah, yeah.
green bar a little bit? Thank you. So basically, the typical timeline, this is before any of the fires happened. It takes 15 to 22 months just to get a permit. That's 2 to 4 weeks for a survey, 3 to 4 months for design and documentation, and then 6 months for discretionary permits. Again, that's normally California Coastal Commission and CEQA or other overlays that affect particular areas. 1 to 2 months for engineering, 4 to 9 months for building and safety, right? Takes a long time to get this stuff done in general. Now with rebuilding, here's their claim, okay? This is what they're saying when you add all the time together, what they're saying it's going to take. Again, you know, there's no proof of concept here for what has currently happened, but they're saying that you get to cut out your 6 months of discretionary permits. And then you should already have a survey, although a lot of people don't, but and then a little bit less for building and safety review. So maybe 8 to 15 months. But again, I'll believe it when I see it. We have to wait and see what the city actually does. And the county. Okay. All right. So then we have a brand new design. If you were to build brand new now, you get a little bit of benefit. Maybe you shave a month off of building and safety review, but you're probably right there back with the original one if you do not stick within the 110% rule, which a lot of people are not. You do not have to do it. And a lot of people say, no, I'm taking the opportunity. I have you know, all my neighbors have a 3,000 square foot house and I have a 1,000 square foot house. And what I'd like to do now is I'd like to be just like all of my neighbors. And so they're just saying, forget about all these extra helpful things. I'm just going to I'm going to do whatever I want. Okay. And again, it might be short. I mean, that might be short because again, they're going to be inundated with applications. All right, so this is, and by the way, the reason why I'm caveating all of this there's a big fire in Malibu, 2018, 500 homes burned down, okay? It's been 7 years, and 182 homes have been permitted. 182 out of 500. And it's not for lack of trying, because 363 have been approved by one department, which means that people are attempting to get the permit. They're just hitting delays, okay? And what you'll see, if you look right here, basically, this is kind of a visual. These are 5 random homes. I don't know what happened there, but that star moved off the Sophia. Sophia, would you mind looking at that? But basically, there are 5 random homes, okay? That star, I think, is supposed to be, I don't know where it is. Oh, that's supposed to be over there. Okay. So, but basically, 5 random homes that and I could show you a snapshot of a bunch of different locations, you know, basically showing these fires that were all burned down, okay? And then 2 homes have been built back. So really, this is a this is a problem, right? People are attempting to build back, but they're not able to build back where they want to. And you'll see here, they're doing a lot of the same stuff. This should look familiar, okay? 110%. Again, it's the same stuff that we're seeing now. So the template that LA, city and county and the state are using came at least from this and maybe even before this, but it's all the same stuff. CEQA and California Coastal Commission was postponed. You have again, the 110% of the previous home size, you got a bunch of benefits. And then they did create a separate response team for planning and building and safety, and yet they're still not, it's not built back. So my guess is that the Palisades and Altadena, it's going to take decades for them to look like what they looked like before.
About 5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes. Okay, great. All right, so Altadena reference, you know what, I'm going to skip this piece if that's all right. We're going to go straight to what you can do, okay? So very high fire hazard zones were created back in 1993 to in order to basically say in these zones you must have fireproofing. And you can see Palos Verdes right there. You can see up there LA, Altadena, the Palisades and Altadena, they're all within the very high fire hazard zones. And the homes that were built after 1993, after this law came into effect, on whole burned down less than the ones that were built before. So it is helping, but it still doesn't stop it completely. So some things that you can do in order to fireproof, you can do Class A roofing, eaves and soffits, exterior walls. Basically, all this stuff is important stuff to take care of right now in order to fireproof your home. And here are some more clear examples of that. Class A roofing is basically a hard fireproof roofing like clay tile or concrete. And you have to have bird stops or concrete at the end of your roof tiles in order to prevent sparks from shooting up. The shape of the roof is kind of like a sail. It's kind of like an airplane wing, right? Because of its shape, the air actually speeds up over the top of the roof before it comes back down. And so it shoots sparks up into the roof. And so having that fireproof is an important thing. And that down there is not allowed. You can't have wood shake anywhere in a very high fire hazard zone anymore. And by the way, this stuff is just good to do even if you're not in one of these zones in order to fireproof your house. When you get home today, look up at your eaves and your soffits. Look at the vents underneath your eaves and the vents in your crawl space and see, does it meet this? Does it have a mesh that is tight enough in order to prevent sparks from getting in? It is one of the easiest places for fire to get into your home is at these ventilation systems. Things like these gutter protectors, right? Basically, these screens are not just to prevent clogging like everyone thinks. They're to prevent fuel from building up for a fire to catch. You have exterior walls. This here on the bottom right is not allowed, but on the upper left, this is called cementitious fiberboard Hardy panel, okay? So basically, it's composed of cement and wood pulp, and it is actually a fireproofing material. It's not just resisting fire, but it's actually what you can use to make your home even more resistant. And then glass, you want to have double pane glass with one of those panes being tempered. Okay, that helps a great deal. And then decks, this is an important one. You can't have a deck within 10 feet of your home that's made of wood. And then this is a bunch of vegetation. Again, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to send this out. But basically, there are lots of different types of plants that you should not have. Eucalyptus are like candles, so they go up very quickly. And you have basically clearances for how far vegetation needs to be. Within 30 feet of the home, it's very strict. You don't want to have planting right up against the house. You don't want to have planting where fire can jump from one plant to another. And then, a little bit further than that, it's a little bit more lenient, but still there's important stuff to bear in mind. Fuel ladders are huge, keeping your bush away from the bottom of your tree leaves, making sure there's a separation there. You don't want fire to catch up. And then, of course, once I send this out, there's some fabulous resources. I suggest you click on every one of them because they're all extremely helpful. All right, any quick questions?
That was great.
Thank you.
That's great, yeah.
Okay.
You're stretching, okay.
You're good.
Yes.
Conversation in the architectural community today about how do you rebuild Altadena and the Palisades so that 10 years from now it looks like Altadena, Palisades, and an Irvine company track in Irvine.
It's a great question. And here's the thing, right? All of the big cities tended to get built up by a developer, right? You look at the Palisades, those original homes that were there when the Palisades was first built, it was like 2 or 3 developers that built out that whole area. And same thing with Altadena. It was 1, 2, 3 big developers that came in and built a majority of those houses. So over time, the houses got replaced. Palisades, I don't think there are any that were, I mean, I won't say any, but that was extreme hyperbole. But basically, I don't think there are very few original houses from those early developers. They've been replaced over time. And so you end up having highly customized homes, right? And so things come up and go down organically, and that's kind of how this happens. It's hard to do when you're trying to create that from scratch because it does happen organically over time, right? So I think you are going to have some things that just are, it's going to be different, right? It's going to be different. And, you know, the way you prevent having it look like what you were talking about is to not have a big developer come in, buy up all the houses, or buy up all the lots and do them all at once because they're not, you can't take that much care in each home if that's how you're doing it. And so maybe giving incentives for people to come back and do it themselves, I think that's a big deal because each individual homeowner is going to have an easier time caring about the details than having one company come in and rebuild everything all at once.
Good points. Thank you. Anyone else? Any questions? Dion and then Janet. Or Janet. Yeah. That's okay. Dion can ask his and then you can remember yours. Yeah.
But use this type of paint, it's less fire resistant, it's more fire resistant, and use this type of flashing and that type of things, or not?
So, I mean, for the most part, the paints that are out now have some level of fire resistance, but it's not perfect. There is a paint that is meant specifically for fire resistance. It's called intumescent paint. And what happens is when the fire touches it, it actually fluffs up into a fireproofing material, right? And it's great when you're trying to protect steel or when you're trying to protect things that can kind of melt or break easily. It's also very expensive. It's really expensive, right? So intumescent paint is usually limited to very specific applications. Other than that, you're kind of stuck with your normal kind of selection.
Light steel, the building with wood, because in the voids, the wood can start burning, where obviously the light steel cannot. So nothing like that.
Well, you'd be surprised. So I just visited a home in Altadena. We're starting a new project out there right now. And it was made of steel. The whole thing was steel studs. There wasn't an ounce of wood there. And the entire thing was completely destroyed. All of the steel studs were melted and warped. You had the steel framing from the top floor had bent and bowed and collapsed onto the first floor. It really does not matter whether it's wood framing or steel.
Stucco can start burning, but if they do like that fiber board on light steel, then you have technically there's nothing that can burn because it cannot even catch flame inside. Nothing like that from the county that's being pushed down on the people.
There's nothing like that. And also even that, if your neighbors are burning, your house, the thing with fireproofing is it's all about time, right? Everything burns. Concrete will burn, right? Concrete will burn and crumble. And so it's all about how long it will take for fire to penetrate. So basically the windows that I showed you, those are called 20-minute windows because it takes 20 minutes for fire to get from one side to the other. A stucco wall, wood framed, is a 1 hour firewall because it takes 1 hour to get through. So everything is considered in time, right? Concrete, of course, has a longer time limit, but still, fire blazing on one side is going to get through. So if your house is the only thing burning down in the city, yes, what you're saying is absolutely true, and it would make a big difference. But if all of your neighbors are up in flames and the temperatures are so hot that it doesn't matter, your house will also burn down.
So sad. Any other, yeah, Janet and then Stefan, and then I got one from Zoom too.
With so many building projects going on at once, what, I mean, and shorter time frames for everything, are there concerns about shoddy workmanship with the contractors, people just coming in trying to make a buck and really not being qualified builders?
Oh, sure. So So basically all of the contractors, all the good ones in LA and in Altadena right now, they're all snatched up. They're booked for years, right? And so you're getting contractors from all over the place at this point coming up and doing work. And you're also getting people that aren't as qualified who are really, really busy, right? People that wouldn't have even been given a second look are now given a hard look because people want to rebuild. So absolutely, it's an issue.
Question. Have the insurance money started coming out and have they started repaying because we haven't had anything?
Yeah. So yes, I have had several clients that have had full payments, and then I have had other clients who haven't gotten anything yet but are expecting payment. There's some that are structured where some of the money comes out quickly, and then some of the money comes out once you actually rebuild something. It really depends on the individual, how it was written, right? It depends on how the contract was written.
But it's not like State Farm is paying out and the rest is not.
Yes, some are better than others. I don't know the specific ones, but I do know, I remember people telling me about specific ones and that this one has paid out quickly, but this one has not. So there are some that are paying out more quickly than others.
Thank you. Stefan, and then
Buyer that got paid out quickly, and it was a VA.
Yeah,
that might make a difference. Yeah, Stefan?
makes sense.
So the cost to build is skyrocketed, and I was stunned by that number. Is that labor? Is that material combination?
So it's both labor and materials, right? You know, the tariffs have already had an effect, right? The tariffs.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So
I thought I'm being a little facetious. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. So I mean, the tariffs have already had an effect. So basically, having the materials cost more coming in makes a big difference, right? So, and then before that, there's still, even before all that stuff happened, there is just rising labor. The costs of people has increased. And then the cost of just local materials and everything has gone up as well. So that's all part of the general inflation that's been happening too.
We did have a question on the Zoom that asked, do you have any opinion or have you heard anything about what they're going to do with some of the luxury mobile home parks that were up there in the area? Have you heard anything about that?
You know, I haven't heard specifically about those mobile home parks, but you know, I would imagine that they're going to go through the same thing that everyone else is going to go through. So
okay, thank you, Alex. Oh, good question.
Yeah, so actually, I've been talking to a landscape architect that has put together a team of architects and other consultants. They're only working in one little area, but it's one example of that type of thing happening. So yes, there are companies that are coming up that are trying to help.
Question. Any others, Joni?
This is a little off that topic, but we're working down here, right? Are the rebuilding timelines in the non-fire areas, they're going to be even longer potentially, or are they?
So Long Beach is pretty far, right?
Yeah.
So even if you go north, like, okay, Manhattan Beach timelines are growing, right? Because everyone from the Palisades is moving down there. Hermosa Beach, they're growing a little bit. But even as far south as Redondo, it's about the same. Redondo and then Palos Verdes and then Long Beach is not as affected as everything up there because the people who kind of escaped those areas aren't really coming down here as much. You're hearing a little bit, right? Some people, but for the most part, they want to be able to hang out with the same people they were hanging out with, etc. Right?
Any other questions? This is a good one. All right, you guys, round of applause. This was amazing.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Please take down his contact info. He's going to be hanging around the team meeting. If you want to go ahead and just take that little microphone off, otherwise I'm going to hear all of that. You're good. You guys go and talk to him to ask more questions. James, what do you have for us? Come on up here, James.
Well, thank you. Well, I want to share February's numbers. that we had. See how we did? Okay. All right. So in February compared to the month of January, for closed units, we had 62 units that closed. In February, that's a 2% increase. Closed volume, $52 million that you guys closed in February, which is a $3.7 million increase compared to January. Listings taken were 53 listings in February. That's a 23% drop. Listings taken volume is $40.2 million, which is a $9.3 million drop. Contracts written, all the offers that were written were 70, which is a 17% increase. And contracts written volume is $55.4 million, which is a $4.2 million increase. The closed GCI that you guys earned for the month of February was $1.2 million, which is a 14% increase. I know what you're thinking. We did in all categories very good, except for the listings. Why did the listings go down? Why do you think the listings went down, even though we were good in every other category? Quick thought, because I know we're short on time.
More agents.
Well, yeah, it's part of it. But the primary reason for that is we always have listings every month, about 2 to 2.5 listings per day. February is 28 days. January is 31 days. So we have a 3-day shortage. That's the primary reason. Of course, the other, maybe some of the agents were on vacation in February or something. I don't know. Could be. But one of the main reasons is because we had short of 3 days for February. Any questions in general? Okay.
Solid month.
Okay. Thank
you
so much.
very much.
Thank you.
King. All right, Sarah, what do you have for us? Come on up here, Sarah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I guess I need that. Hey guys. Hello, hello, hello. Not much change right now. We still have a lot of people still trickling in who are doing their property tax or their filing taxes for last year. So again, like I said, if you guys have clients that closed escrow, they need their closing statements, they need their 1099s, they need their 593s. Feel free to ask me if we've closed escrow or any of your escrow companies. I totally recommend it. I think it's a great touch. Your client would appreciate it. I'm just still getting a lot of those requests. Not much I've seen in terms of changing on anything. Everything kind of seems standard and smooth. I feel like a lot of offers coming in are very like well done. Everyone's verbiage looks good, which is great. Which is usually the one thing I always say, like it's not clear sometimes, and we're doing addendums back and forth all when we open escrow to clear things up, but it looks good. I mean, like I said, if you have an HOA, let's reach out to them. I've seen a lot of, I will say with regarding to HOAs, I've seen a lot of questions when it comes to the balcony inspections. I'm having a lot of lenders asking me for these reports. I'm kind of like had a meeting yesterday with other people about it too, to see what other escrow companies are hearing on their end. So I have one, I'm still waiting for this HOA to tell me, like, did they do an inspection? Do they have one scheduled? Because a lot of lenders want to see it, or they want to know when it's going to be scheduled, or if it's already done, they want to know when repairs are going to be taken care of. I had one cancel actually because the HOA couldn't give any answers basically, and the lender needed it. So it didn't end up going through. But something to keep in mind, if you have an HOA that does have a balcony or a stairway to a balcony, I'm seeing that too. Like if it has its own entrance, that stairs go up to a balcony area. So things to keep in mind, because I think that's brand new as of January, and we're going to start seeing probably more and more of it. So something to know that we may need to ask the HOA in advance so that, you know, when you open escrow, if there's any special assessments for things like this. I've had a lot of HOAs come with notes on my demands that special assessments are coming. Like the one, I have one that has a 15-year loan they're voting on next month. So just things to keep in mind when you're in escrow or opening, negotiating who's paying that assessment. So thanks.
All right. Thanks, Sarah. Nice picture.
Thank you. Hello. This is the new headshot everybody's been harassing me for 3 years. Thank you.
Wow.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, I want to talk Leisure World, guys. I don't like talking about Leisure World in most of my offices. You guys are an exception because of your vicinity to Leisure World, and you have more agents that tend to do Leisure World in here.
that work there, not live there. There's no judgment
We
if you
love
do
our
live there.
leisure
Yeah.
world. We
It's
love our
awesome
leisure
there.
world.
Okay. I wanted to let you guys know that for those of you that don't or just dabble in it, we do have this Leisure World FAQ sheet, and it's back there with my flyer stand and whatnot. And then just some new things that happened with Leisure World as far as the plan goes in the last couple of years. Guys, we never raised Leisure World prices. The service call fee is still $65. The reason Leisure World prices, fun fact, do not get raised is because before you can close an escrow at Leisure World, a full inspection is done and everything must be fixed. You don't negotiate whether that's fixed. You don't give credits towards whether or not it's fixed. It's fixed. So you do not have the pre-existing condition issues that you have with other home warranties, okay? Also, the grannies there would flip out if we switched our service call fee to $90 there. So it is still $65, but we've added so many cool things, guys. We have a top of the line plan there that caps out at $355, okay? That is the top of the line. So in comparison for regular home warranty, that same like kind of equivalent plan would be $825. So just keep that in mind. But guys, please, if you do not understand Leisure World or don't know what to put, please give me a call. Do not just slap a condo plan on a Leisure World property. You will have no coverage, okay? That is not the same type of plan. So make sure you're referencing Leisure World when you need a quote or something like that, because it's totally different. Yes, Stefan.
That had an existing home warranty from another company that they purchased on their own. The initials are AHS. Anyway.
So AHS. He's the one that said it, not me.
And by the time my frustration, maybe I'm just a grouchy old man or something, but by the time I got through the person abroad and their pleasantries, I was just frustrated. Then it was $100 service call. They wanted 2 times that because there was 2 different. Like, where's my brandy?
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And guys, with Leisure World especially, there's only one Leisure World approved home warranty. It's us. There's another company that like does Leisure World, but we are approved. Well, that's why we can put the name on the brochure. So really with Leisure World, it really matters. Personal preference with the other stuff, but Leisure World, keep that in mind. So that's there. And then just really quick, I know we're on a time crunch. I spoke to you guys at the start of the year about the new requirements for the A2 class refrigerants for the environment. I have the actual flyers here now that explain it. There's a big pile of them. Don't try and be the expert on this. Just pass this out and refer me for any questions. Okay, guys? All right. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Brandy. All right. What do you have for us? Quickly.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay, so we will make this quick. We do some coaching on with a real estate coach, and what part we love about it is getting the ideas to share with you on what's working. What are we seeing that's working to get listings right now? It's key. It's heating up out there a lot. If you guys aren't seeing it, please reach out to us. We'd love to share some ideas. But one idea that I loved that they spoke about is seller seminars. Is anyone doing a seller seminar? We hear a lot about buyer seminar, but a seller seminar. Right now, this is a great idea. We have the entire playbook for it, where how to set it up for it, what to include in your seminar, where to have it, how to follow up, all the key stuff. So if you're interested in doing that, let us know. We'd love to share it. And I think the key for this, that the part that I really liked, is they're small seminars. Do them often. They're small groups. You get more results from having 10 people at this rather than trying to fill a room. Have it in like somewhere that's like a restaurant or something, so it's a small group, it's more manageable. They're getting better results having it at a location rather than having it at the office. But I'm sure all of that can be fixed, and whichever fits your needs and your clients. But we'd love to share some ideas with that. This is great for people that are over maybe long-term owners. People that are a little older right now, they need this information. So if you want to get some ideas on this, please reach out to us. We'd love to share.
Yeah, they're calling it the Silver Tsunami this year to you guys. So Silver Tsunami, referencing this year is the biggest year. People 65 are turning 65. So it's definitely an area of ownership that you want to definitely include and be focusing on and targeting. They say about 6% of those will sell. And just real quickly, after the meeting, hang out, grab some food. We're going to be doing a class going through our Fidelity Agent One app, you guys. So we're really going to sit here and go hands-on. There's so many great resources in this app that you can be using and sharing with the consumer, buyers, sellers. So I put out a list of some bullet points of all the things we're going to be talking about. And we really want to get you comfortable using it because it is a great resource with tons of marketing and information for your clients to help get them off the fence. So we hope to see you at 1:30 too.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Mike, what do you have for us?
Well, you're going to see some rates up there on the screen, but here's the thing. None of that matters for the next 24 hours because tomorrow's Fed Day. And tomorrow is not only just any Fed Day, it's the Fed Day that comes along with the dot plot. As a reminder, because I know I only tell this to you guys like once every other month, but the dot plot, here, yeah, sure. You want your phone? Yeah, sure. The dot plot is basically just a graph that each one of the Fed members they represent a dot, right? And they put their dot on the graph. And that's a projection for this year and next year's Fed funds rate. Now, rest assured, the market will absolutely trade on this data. If the Fed thinks that rates are going to be higher, the Fed funds rate is going to be higher at the end of the year, then rates are going to probably increase and the market will freak out. If they say it's going to go lower, then market might freak out. But rest assured, that also doesn't matter for the long term. The long-term trajectory of rates will only be determined by economic data reports that come out. So right now, there's a lot of volatility from what I hear and you all hear. There's a lot that's going on in our economy and our government. So with everything that is just giving us whiplash in the market, understand that whatever happens tomorrow doesn't necessarily mean that this is what the rest of the year is going to look like for interest rates. You just have to stay calm and remember that economics is a very boring science. And we're just going to continue to watch for retail sales data and job supply because the path to lower interest rates and lower inflation is paved with lower aggregate demand and greater labor supply. So those are the two economic things that we're going to be paying attention to. And I know we're short on time, so that's about it. We're good.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you. All right, guys, let's take a look at our upcoming training and events. We've got some good ones. The Science of Sales with Richard Chung. If you guys haven't been to this session, it's one you definitely want to mark on your calendars. It's a great one to come and to learn what to say, when to say it, how to carry yourself, etc., from a very, very top master. Simon's going to go over Lone Wolf and transactions this Friday during his broker session. And that's it, you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Go and talk to our vendors, please. Have a good rest of your day, guys. You're welcome.